Tuesday, February 20th, 2024, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So we're going to look a bit at China today, and I know a lot of people get very emotional about China, but what I'm trying to do here is look at it objectively. Yes, China is technically or officially a communist country, but in my opinion, sometimes it acts anything but communistically. It's more of a mix. And we're going to look at the concept of whoever has the gold makes the rules. Before I do, though, just wanted to mention an interesting video I saw yesterday from Yankee Stacking. And this guy came into Tim's shop, and he was buying silver and gold for the first time, and he drove 250 miles. I think he drove down from Maine. And they asked him, why are you buying gold and silver now? And he said, for preservation, wealth preservation, for insurance, and I'm going to dig it in the back, in the garden or somewhere. And it made me think of the Dirty Man safe. And if you haven't looked at it yet, have a look at it. There's a link below in the description for the Dirty Man safe. It's a brand new idea in terms of safe. He's got a patent pending on it. And if you use my promo code Monaco10, you get a 10% discount. You might even get a small gift, I think, right now. Yeah, the Dirty Man safe. I think right now with how crazy things are going, not just in the US, but in the UK, it's good to safeguard your valuables, especially if you've been stacking, and for other valuables as well. And one interesting thing that gentleman said in Yankee Stacking is wealth preservation. He didn't buy it to sell it 6 months later for fiat. He said, I've got no need for fiat currency. I've got everything I need. I only need fiat currency day to day. So there you go. So let's get back to China. And I know a lot of people get triggered, so to speak, about China. They say it's a communist country. Joe Biden is in the pocket of the Chinese, and it very well might be so. And I'm not trying to defend China. I'm just trying to look at it objectively, because I think a lot of times we see people saying China's collapsing, China is going to disintegrate. And I know the real estate market there has been unwinding, kind of deleveraging. Their stock market hasn't done too well, but I think it's exaggerated, and we need to be objective, because I think a lot of this China bashing is to take away a spotlight from the West, the fact that we're collapsing. We've got farmers' protests everywhere. We've got the truckers now in the US refusing to deliver stuff to New York. We've got the border problem, people coming in through the border in the US, in the UK. We've got a massive amounts of debt. We got budget deficits. We're sending hundreds of billions to keep wars going. At least the Chinese, it seems, they're not involved in sending billions to other countries to waste their taxpayer money. So we're going to look at the concept of who has the gold makes the rules, because I saw a tweet this morning from someone I follow, and he's based out of Hong Kong, which is technically a semi-autonomous region. So it's not part of, officially part of China. You have to go through the border if you want to go into Hong Kong from mainland China. But yes, it's part of China, but it's kind of different. But anyway, he tweeted out, he reposted it, and it's from Gold Silver HQ. It says China's gold demand hit record highs in January with 271 tons. And this guy, he wrote, seems like the dragon's appetite for gold is insatiable. I think it's the year of the dragon, this new Chinese New Year. And yes, China, technically and officially, is a communist country. It's run by a single party. But have you kind of wondered in the West? Yes, we have a couple of parties exchanging, power every 4 or 5 years or more, and things never change. They always do the same thing. So is it any different than having a single party, the uni party? But anyway, it's interesting because the other day I spoke about the fact that the People's Bank of China, their central bank, they added on 10 metric tons in January to their reserves, which officially are just over 2,300 metric tons. And a lot of people, they pointed that, people who don't really follow gold, they pointed that and say, the U.S. has a lot more, 4 times more gold than China. But I've spoken about it recently that a lot of analysts who are much better at analyzing, and they do a lot closer work than I do about this subject, 3 or 4 different ones, they've come to the conclusion, or after looking at the data, the mining data in China and everything, that China as a country has over 31,000 metric tons. So something's going on there. China knows, I guess, the old adage, whoever has the gold makes the rules. And this is from, it says here, this sharp cartoon is from the Wizard of Id, a classic daily newspaper comic strip created by Brent Parker and Johnny Hart in 1964 to satirize modern American culture and politics. So I thought that's interesting. And we've known that extreme, or not extreme, but authoritarian Soviet dictators like Lenin and Stalin didn't like the people having gold. Yes, the state had gold, but the Chinese have actually encouraged people there to own gold. So they know that you need the gold. And we've been hearing, of course, that China is in the depression just because their CPI is gone negative. And some people will argue, oh, you can't trust the Chinese data. Probably true. But can we trust the US government's data, or the UK government's data, or the EU government data? I don't think so. And I just saw a tweet from the Sirius Report, and I've had Paul on before, and he tweeted, I think yesterday, Chinese data continues to defy the clowns in the West. Well, that's his term. I'm not saying people are clowns, but I'm just reading what he wrote, who know less than absolutely nothing about China. China's current account surplus amounted to $264 billion equivalent in 2023. The surplus under trade in goods was $608 billion equivalent in 2023, the second highest level in history. So what does that mean? Their surplus, trade surplus, current account surplus. Well, if you think of a country as you, or a business, when a country runs a current account deficit, it means the country's losing money. So it's buying more than it sells. And the reason the United States and countries like the UK have been able to run a current account deficit for about 50 years is that we're countries. So the government can keep printing the money, and the US has the reserve currency status. They can keep printing the money and people will still demand dollars. But people are waking up to this, that this is just a rip-off. And when you run a deficit, a current account deficit, foreigners have to finance that by buying your debt, because you have to keep borrowing to keep going. But in the case of China, they're making a profit. That's really communistic, isn't it? Well, they're making a profit, and the second highest trade and goods surplus in 2023. The other thing I would say, the trade numbers are more difficult to fudge. And why is that? Well, because it has to match the trade numbers of other countries. So if you lie about your surpluses, it's very easy to check. You just have to go through the countries that China sold to and look at their numbers. And if they don't match, someone's lying. So, and current account data and trade data are part of the GDP. When you run a trade deficit or current account deficit, GDP is reduced, and vice versa. So what this means is that the Chinese economy is still growing. Yes, maybe their consumption, domestic consumption, is not doing as well, and investment in real estate is not doing as well, but they're still doing well in terms of selling. And I'm sure the Chinese are pushing also, and they have been pushing people to accumulate gold because they know something's coming. And their GDP as well still has a 5 handle. The latest number was 5.2%. And yes, they might be lying a little bit about that number, fudging it. But even if you say, oh, it's more like 4 because they're embellishing the number, that's still higher than any other country in the West. Our GDP in the UK is negative right now. So the other article I wanted to show you is this one here. And it came out, let's have a look, 3 days ago, because you're probably aware there's this Munich security conference, and actually the Chinese foreign minister was there, which I didn't realize, but Bloomberg is reporting Ukraine seeks to meet China's Wang to discuss path to peace. Leaders and officials meet at the Munich Security Conference. Ukraine has pushed for a peace meeting as soon as next month. I think I've spoken about this before. I think at Davos, at the Davos summit, like a month or so ago, the Ukrainians were there pushing for this peace conference, but without the Russians inviting the Russians, which seems really crazy. If you're having a war, two sides are having a war. If they want to make peace, they got to sit together. You can't have the other countries that's fighting a war not be at the table. So, yeah, the Ukrainians want the Chinese to be involved because China is very important. China has the gold. China makes the rules. But this is what the Chinese foreign minister said, and I'll read. But Wang, China's foreign minister, said conditions aren't currently right for peace talks to take place without giving a reason. Well, I think I know what the reason for China is, and that's to do with Russia. The fact that this peace talks wouldn't include Russia. I'm sure the Chinese have said, yes, if you include Russia, we'll participate. And now I'm quoting Wang. China has done a lot of constructive work and we will continue to play a positive role on this, he said in an onstage interview in Munich, while adding that it's not China's responsibility to resolve the crisis. So there you go. Yeah, some people will get triggered. I'm not saying you that's watching my reports, But yeah, China wants to do business. China doesn't want to wage war, even though we're told they want to take over the world, and that they're building their arsenals and increasing defense spending. Well, they're only doing that because the United States and the West, they're surrounding, they've got all the military, their navies all around Asia, and they're encircling them. And then you have NATO trying to encircle Russia. And I'm not taking sides, as I said, I'm just observing things. So isn't it ironic then that China is looking after its interests? It's running a surplus. It's not sending billions or tens of billions or even hundreds of billions to keep wars going. Its naval vessels, merchant vessels are not being targeted in the Red Sea. While we in the West, we've closed ourselves off to cheap energy, even though I read that a lot of the Russian oil is actually flowing back into the US via India, but that's a different topic. So there you go. Again, in an ideal world for me, we'd have small government everywhere, the rule of law, sound money, what else? Yeah, individual liberty, and we'd have a world where government would be minimal, where it wouldn't interfere in business. But all I'm trying to do here is tell you what's going on right now in the world. And I think, unfortunately, we're doing the wrong thing and China's doing the right thing in terms of protecting itself financially. So, yeah, he who has or whoever has the gold makes the rules. And if you want to keep making your own rules, i.e. on an individual basis, if you want to be self-reliant, I think you got to copy what the Chinese are doing, not in terms of being authoritarian, but in terms of protecting your wealth by continuing to stack gold, silver, or maybe just get out of debt and run a surplus as well. Live within your means. So let's get back to look at where the markets are this morning. It's 8:30 a.m. London time. I didn't realize yesterday was Washington's birthday, which is commonly known as President's Day. So the markets were very quiet, of course. But right now we got spot gold up $5 at 2022. Silver's trading at 23. It's up 2 cents, but it dropped quite a bit yesterday. I'm not sure why. Well, anyway, the Dow future is down 130. NASDAQ is down 132, and the S&P is down 22 points. So the markets are a little bit under pressure, stock markets. Currencies are pretty much unchanged, except for the dollar being up about 0.2 versus the yen at 150.32. Dollar is down slightly versus the yuan at 720.74. Aussie dollar is down 0.1%, 65.32. Dollar is up 1/8 versus the Canadian dollar, 135.07. And the Kiwi dollar is down slightly as well, 61.42. Commodities, we got WTI crude unchanged at 78.15. Brent is unchanged at 82.66. Platinum is trading around 900. That's down about a dollar. And actually, high grade copper is up about a third. It's trading at just below 384. Let's check the bond markets. The 10-year yield is down 1 basis point at 4.29. That's a U.S. Treasury, of course. In the UK, the 2-year gilt yield is unchanged at 4.62, and the 5-year is unchanged as well at 4.14. So with that, I'm going to wish you all a very good day. Take care. Bye.